It is the second day that Shades Cahaba and other schools around the state have been shut down due to the state of emergency declared by Alabama Governor Kay Ivey. Coronavirus, COVID-19, has been quickly spreading around the world and is now in our community. To help slow the spread of the coronavirus, we've been asked to actively participate in social distancing, staying at home, not visiting with other people, or being in large crowds. The idea being that if we avoid public spaces and generally limit our movement, the virus will be slowed and our healthcare system will be able to better handle the situation. I was working on another episode when I remembered a conversation that Cheryl Sumi and I had when I interviewed her in episode 12. This is not the first time that Homewood and the rest of the nation has participated in social distancing. During the hot summer months of the 1930s and 40s, infantile paralysis struck thousands of children each year nationwide. 3 different highly contagious polioviruses begin with cold or flu-like symptoms and would permanently paralyze or kill infected children. The disease hit its peak in the U.S. in 1952. It was at its worst in Jefferson County during the 1930s and hit epidemic proportions in 1936. As a parent, I can only imagine how terrified parents were that their children would be crippled by the disease or worse, die from it. Parents would do their own version of social distancing, not letting their children play with others, or the lucky ones would be left at rural camps such as Camp Winnetasca for the summer. But children are ingenious and have their own priorities. Here is my conversation with Cheryl where we talked about it.
There's another period in this story, the story of Homewood and people that went to Shades Cahaba and then also went on to Shades Valley High School, but thinking about the polio epidemics that came through Homewood. And that was something I hadn't given a lot of thought to till I started interviewing people. And this one lovely lady who we interviewed, her name was Ann Connolly Logan. Ann Logan was her maiden name. And she recalled in the 30s, and we have the statistics about what happened in the 30s and things that Homewood did. They actually had free sprayings for kids. Kids would come in and they would spray them with antiseptic. They were just trying to think of any way that they could forestall this. But one summer, I'm trying to look at the year, I don't know, it was in the 30s, maybe 1936, I think. The parents that had their kids home from school wouldn't let their kids go out and play that whole summer because they were terrified. But Manhattan Street, which is over right behind the park, Ann Logan lived on one side of the street, and her friend, Emily Putnam, lived on the other side of the street, and they would put notes in the lunchbox and throw it back and forth across the street. And then sometimes like a cookie or whatever, and that's kind of the way they maintained their friendship that summer. And I think about the parents being so terrified.
That's what I was just thinking.
Of this specter, hanging over their children, and yet the children are more concerned with passing notes and cookies.
Well, I was just thinking the other day, we were like, oh my God, we have not gotten our flu shots for our children. We got to get the flu shots. Mm-hmm. And that's, even as bad as that can be, that's nothing like what was going through their minds with polio. And they didn't know how to fix it.
And I guess, everybody who's a parent relates to that fear when you think about what that fear must have been like. And it brings you right back to this close connection you have with people who lived a long time ago, but they lived in this same place. And it makes you aware of our common humanity, if that doesn't sound like too fancy a term, which is what I love about studying history completely.
And also, if they were living on Manhattan, you also had people coming in on the trolley car in front of their house, and who knows what those people were bringing.
So and tossing the lunchbox back and forth and trying to avoid the trolley going by when you're going to be having to plan your lunchbox note throwing.
Can you imagine keeping your kids in all summer, not letting them go out and do things?
No. I can't even begin to imagine that. They had shut down the pool, of course, the public pools.
Sounds familiar, doesn't it? There's no good way to finish this episode other than to say that we're resilient and we'll come out on the other side. One of the main things I have come to realize about the Homewood community through my research and living here is that when there is an issue that needs to be solved, we step up with our time, our money, and support. And if that means keeping our kids home for 3 weeks or so, then we do it, and we support those who need our help. Until next time, thanks for listening to the Shades Cahaba Oral History Project.